Welcome to another episode of No Buts About It. It is Thursday, September 14th. I am in my dining room in Indiana. Chus is in his basement in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I almost said it was Friday. I thought it was Friday at first. I was excited because that meant it was payday. But no, it is
It's
Thursday.
Thursday.
But that means there is Thursday Night Football on, which
Let's
we'll talk
go.
about a little bit later. But first, this is the first time Chus has been able to sit down with me to discuss what happened on Monday Night Football. Stan the Jet Fan and I discussed it on Water Cooler Analysis, which is on the YouTube channel right now. Stan told us a little bit about what he thought of the game, what he thought about Aaron Rodgers' injury, what he thought about Zach Wilson. So if you haven't seen that yet, make sure to go check that out. That is on the YouTube channel. Well, Chus, just like I asked Stan, what did you think about the Monday night game and that miraculous comeback that the Jets made against the Buffalo Bills?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to crack my Mountain Dew right over to the mic. Might sound kind of satisfying
Some ASMR.
Yeah. Anyway, basically, I thought it was very interesting. I didn't really get to catch a lot of the game, but I thought that it was very, very bizarre and very, very unfortunate how Aaron Rodgers had all this hype and there was all this excitement in New York just for him to play, one drive? I don't know how many plays. Four snaps, and then just tears his Achilles is completely out for the rest of the season. Then the savior among all saviors for the New York Jets, Zach Wilson, went in. And honestly, I was from what I saw, I was kind of impressed with how he did. Obviously it was a clutch win. You beat Buffalo, on Monday Night Football. He did have a pass touchdown. I think it was to Garrett Wilson, which almost was a drop, but Garrett Wilson somehow tumbled the ball a little bit and then grabbed it for the touchdown, which was clutch, but still, could have been dropped in a much more intense situation. Makes you a little concerned just on, some of the receivers. Maybe it's just week one or just the way Zach Wilson threw the ball. But hey, nonetheless, doesn't matter because he did catch it and it was a touchdown. They ended up winning. He went he was 14 of 21, 150 some yards and a touchdown and an interception, which I don't think that's horrible, but it's definitely not the numbers you would have hoped for with Aaron Rodgers. And now, unfortunate for Jets fans, they're going to have to deal with the up and down roller coaster of Zach Wilson again, unless somehow, some way, Zach Wilson learned a lot in training camp from Aaron Rodgers and actually ends up doing really well this year with the team that he has. Because it is a possibility. I mean, obviously you're working with a lot of quarterbacks, in this situation, and with Aaron Rodgers, stepping in, being the veteran, playing for more than 10 years, you're probably going to gain some sort of experience or some sort of tips from him, knowing that you're going to be the backup this season, just for the man that probably showed you all those tips goes down with a torn Achilles 4 plays into the game. Might be time for Zach Wilson to cook a little bit, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I was impressed, but I'm just going to tread lightly with that because Zach Wilson, we've seen this in the past, and I'm not super high on Zach Wilson, statistically, but, we'll see.
Well, statistically speaking, if you just looked at last weekend's stats, Zach Wilson is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. He's a better quarterback than Josh Allen, and he's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Zach Wilson finished with an 81.4 passer rating. Josh Allen finished with a 62.7 passer rating. So
yeah,
is this the beginning of the?
I think you're getting a little too ahead of yourself there. Everybody don't get too excited here. Zach Wilson, I feel like a lot of the stud quarterbacks this week ended up having really, really unfortunate weeks. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the quarterbacks this week just did not reach the highest potential they possibly could. I mean, obviously with Patrick Mahomes, even with the 1 point loss, he still struggled a little bit. Allen struggled a little bit. Obviously, we know about Joe Burrow. I've talked about him multiple times. I just feel like even like Jalen Hurts, like I feel like a lot of these quarterbacks have struggled. So it does grow some concern with them for week one, but also it's week one. You ain't going to stress about it. And honestly, I wouldn't get too hyped up about Zach Wilson until he has like a Jordan Love type game in the next couple of weeks. Like if all of a sudden, like next week, he goes in and puts up like 200, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions or something like that, then I'll be like, all right, well, maybe something else is happening with Zach Wilson. Maybe a miracle is happening in New York right now. But for now, just tread lightly. It was a divisional game. Those kind of games always just they never end up happening the same way that you would think they would. They always just end up as one of those things where it's like, oh, you kind of think this is going to happen, but then it ends up being really close. Like it happens all the time. I mean, I guess except for the Dallas game, but we're not going to talk about that because that's an off thing typically.
So I'm kind of rooting for Zach Wilson only because he's an underdog now. I mean, he's the former number 2 overall pick, but I just feel like everyone in the media is like, what can you do other than play Zach Wilson? Like we were talking about before the show, I saw a list and I forget who posted it, but it was like from CBS Sports or someone else. And they said, if Aaron Rodgers retires this year and they don't have a quarterback in 2024, what do the Jets do? And it was like, sign Kirk Cousins in free agency, sign Drew Lock in free agency, draft a quarterback, and then it was run with Zach Wilson. So using Zach Wilson is below paying another veteran quarterback, paying a backup quarterback to be your starter, drafting someone who the draft's a lottery. You have no idea what you're going to get or who you're going to end up with. And even after you get them, how good are they going to be? Or do you use Zach Wilson? And on top of that, all week we've been hearing stories like, well, they clearly can't run with Zach Wilson, but you know who could play? Robert Griffin III. Maybe we should go get him.
Oh my
Or
god.
maybe Andrew Luck coming out of retirement.
What
Tom Brady.
it's just so random. It's so random. Like for crying out loud, Andrew Luck hasn't played in like years. What would be so enticing for Andrew Luck to just be like, you know what? Screw it, guys. I haven't played in like 4 years. I'm gonna come out of retirement and risk my concussions and all of that
He's
garbage.
like, I didn't come out of retirement for the Colts, but the New York Jets,
I got you. Same thing with like Tom Brady. Like I feel like Tom Brady is like his ship sailed, guys. I don't think Tom Brady is gonna be like, you know what, guys, I have one more round left in me. Like I don't think he's just gonna come back out of retirement because then it's gonna start getting stupid and I'm gonna get sick of Tom Brady showing up everywhere. So I think for now they're just gonna run with Zach Wilson. I really doubt that they're gonna do any sort of circus over there for a little bit. Like with like running around with quarterbacks and stuff. I think they're just going to run with them just because they know that. Because like, what's the point of getting like RG3 or like even in the off season? Like, yeah, do you think Kirk Cousins could be on his way out of Minnesota after this year? Have they said?
I believe he's a free agent.
Yeah, but like, do you think he won't get re-signed?
Oh, I think he'd get re-signed, but this is just that list that they made.
Yeah, then what? Why would you even? Because like Kirk, although they haven't really gone super far with Kirk Cousins. They've had really good seasons with him, so you might, if you're in Minnesota, you may want to hold on to him, which would then prevent them from signing him. But Drew Lock, I feel like, was very random. I feel like that's just like a very random, like guy. I don't know. I mean, Drew Lock isn't bad. It's just very random.
He's and a then backup.
But like you could get like I don't know, literally any backup. Like why?
What
Drew
Lock are you getting with Drew Lock that you're not going to get with Zach Wilson?
Well, what are you getting with like Drew Lock that you're not going to get with like any of these other random backups?
Well, that's what I mean.
He's the
but
same
like,
type of player. I mean, it's not like he's an above average. I mean, like you could go out in free agency next year as the Jets and get Gardner Minshew, and you'd probably still get a decent player. Like it's just like these backup quarterbacks are all relatively the same. They'll win you some games, and they're going to lose you some really bad games too. So it's just really
notable quarterbacks that are in free agency next year that. And this is kind of why I don't think Kirk's even going to be an option. Kirk will be a free agent. Ryan Tannehill, Jacoby Brissett, Sam Darnold, Marcus Mariota, Baker Mayfield, and Gardner Minshew.
Oh, come back, Sam Darnold. Bring Sam Darnold back to the Jets. It's time. Let Sam Darnold come back and cook.
So I think you
Pending what
run
he
with
does.
Zach Wilson, unless Zach Wilson is just egregiously, which I get. I get they have a short Super Bowl window, but just run with Zach Wilson for now. Let's see what can happen. Aaron Rodgers is still going to be in the stadium. He's still going to be mentoring him. It's not like he's going to be
Just
like,
quit.
"Hey, tore my Achilles. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna head home. See ya." No,
Well, maybe
I
no. I mean, maybe he'll go to his house and sit in his dark room and think about next year already. But
I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see Aaron Rodgers on the sideline with a headset on talking to Zach during the games.
probably.
Because it seemed like Aaron was brought in to not only play and win a Super Bowl, but also with the intent of mentoring Zach Wilson or whoever they go with. Because Aaron Rodgers was not the long-term solution in New York anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were asking me an open-ended question here, but
No, I was not. You just looked down at your phone, and I
yeah, I
didn't know
looked
if you
down
got
because
an alert.
no, I got like 4 text messages in a row, and I
Ooh, popular
didn't.
man.
Yeah.
Well, I just got. All the alert says is Pat McAfee believes Kirk Cousins could be in for a rough night against Eagles because of Vikings O-line injuries.
Well, also, I think last year the Vikings did not do good in Philly either, regardless of the O-line. So, I mean, we'll talk about all that.
Yeah,
So, but
we will. But next thing is some Bengals news. People are freaking out on X for some reason
okay,
because Lael Collins was cut by the Cincinnati Bengals. He's an offensive tackle that we signed in, I think 2 years ago, a year ago. But he was from the Cowboys and pretty good. He was pretty good with the Cowboys, but he had injury issues, and that was a concern when we signed him. And people said that, but Lael came to Cincinnati. He said, "Hey, no one's gonna touch you, Joe. Never again. Your bodyguard's in town." We're like, okay, yeah, we like that. We like that. Well, Lael, he was right. He was very good when he played. The problem is he never played. Um, and that's why I'm kind of like, I don't see this as a huge loss yet. The timing was definitely weird. A lot of fans are concerned about that. I look at this as okay, we're cutting a guy who was always injured. He was on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. And it's like, okay, yes, he was great when he played, but he never played. So what are we really losing here? And also, some Bengals fans are like, oh, we're cutting O-line depth. But again, he's not O-line depth if he can't play. He's not really depth there. And
yeah,
so now I guess the Patriots have called about being interested in him. They've contacted Lael's agent and Lael. So
of course, it's the
I
New England Patriots.
I guess I think that there's a plan here. I think long term that maybe this is to roll over cap into the final year. There might have been a setback with the injury to where it was like, okay, bud, you're not going to play anyway. Or maybe there
Maybe.
was a situation where Lael just wanted to be let go anyway. But I feel like there's a plan here. I think Duke Tobin is saying we've got some key players to re-sign next year. Let's take as much cap into the next year as we can. This guy's not going to play anyway, so let's save that money. Or maybe there's someone who's out there that some teams are calling owners and they're like, hey, like, we're not saying anything to the media yet, but if you wanted this guy, he might be up for grabs. So we needed to clear some room for him. I don't know. I don't know either way, but I'm not freaking out. I don't think Bengals fans should be freaking out. I think every year, here's how the Bengals fan base happens. Every year, something happens and fans call the ownership morons, or people on Twitter, X at least, call the ownership morons. Then that thing works out, and fans are like, "Oh my gosh, they're a genius. We never saw this coming." So I'm just gonna kind of blindly trust them right now. And
Yeah, I feel like I feel like you're finally understanding what a fan base that likes winning is like, because this happens a lot with the Steelers over the last 15 years. I would go on Twitter and Instagram and they would be like, "Bro, what are we doing?" Like they would like we would draft like a wide receiver in like the 5th round. Or like for example, like we would draft like Antonio Brown. They're like, "We don't need wide receivers." And then Antonio Brown would end up being like he was the guy that popped off for the Steelers. And they're like, "Yes, Antonio Brown, we never slept on you." And it's like, shut up. Like that's why I get it, like when like I feel like once you reach that certain point, like where you guys are starting to win, I feel like the fan base will naturally just call the owners morons because they want to win. And like and obviously like you guys just came off of a loss. There's a lot of teams that just came off losses. So when they make moves like this, you're like, "What are you doing?"
and
So
a lot of it's bandwagons too that are chirping.
yeah, I honestly don't listen to the white noise. Just kind of let the Cincinnati Bengals do what they got to do, because like you said, it might actually just work out for you guys, like genuinely. So I hope it does, because it'd be really funny for the trolls.
It's just
But I mean, how many
it's
games did he play total?
I don't know. If it was like if the Bengals came out and they were like, "Hey, we're releasing Jamar Chase,"
Well, then yeah.
it'd be like, but that's like how some people reacted to this. They they acted like the Bengals like randomly released Jamar Chase. He started 15 games for Cincinnati last season before injuring his knee in a Christmas Eve win over the Patriots.
Mm.
And that was, let me make sure I've got the right season here. Oh, that was 1 hour ago. Okay, so yeah, that's accurate.
Well, I mean, it'd be pretty random. Like, I feel like I would be more upset if like they cut like what, Orlando Brown. Like I feel like just like randomly just being like, "Yeah, Orlando Brown's gone, guys."
And yes, he
Like I feel like
played 15 games, but if I remember right, he was very like kind of like he'd start and then he'd get like beat up a little bit and then have to go sit on the sideline for a while and then maybe come back.
yeah.
And it was one of those things where like on paper, yes, he started, but I I was never like, this is the guy, this is the answer with him. But maybe some people were. I don't get the shock and awe with this, but maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe. I don't know. I'm tired. Tired of it. But
Uh, I mean, it kind of just makes me think of J.K. Dobbins for some reason. Like when you like mentioned like, oh, he hasn't played and stuff like that. Like your guy you were highlighting kind of just
oh
reminded
yeah.
me like of how much J.K. Dobbins has missed, like in general.
Yeah,
J.K. Dobbins was out the entire 2021 season. He played what, 8, 9 games last season, and then now he is out for the rest of the season.
and he's a 2020 rookie, so he's not even that old.
Yeah,
But he's another guy who like I've heard Ravens fans be like, "Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, he's great," and then it's like, "Yeah, he's great when he plays."
and he
So is
most
he
of the
really
time,
that? Is he really that great?
there's no way that this guy just keeps getting hurt for like such extended periods of times. Like, I mean, it's obviously real, but like it's like unreal that it's happened like 3 years in a row now. And he's so young too. Like it
Mm-hmm.
really is like, because these are like issues that you have when you're in your like 30s, where it's like, oh, I tore my meniscus or whatever, and you're just like done for multiple weeks. And like for example, like the Steelers are dealing with Cam Hayward, he has a torn groin, he might be out for like half the season. So I mean, it's just like one of those things where it's like we have to deal with, because Cam Hayward's in his like mid 30s now, so like it's problems you deal with older players, not somebody you drafted like you said in like 2020. Now that, I mean, that's completely off topic to the Bengals conversation, but when it reminded me of like, oh yeah, well he was good when he played, and that was the same thing with J.K. Dobbins. He's good when he plays, but it's not often enough.
Yeah. So let's get into Thursday night football. I think tonight should be a fun game. We've got the Minnesota Vikings against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm kind of mad at the Eagles because of fantasy football
Oh
reasons.
my gosh.
And here's why. So I don't know when the waiver wire. I can't remember the exact time the waiver wire closes. But
Usually they go in at six. They go through at like 6 in the morning.
okay, I got the notification that Kenneth Gainwell was out after the waiver wire was closed. Kenneth Gainwell was my starting running back, who I had just picked up off of waivers, and it was like something like he's questionable, but he's gonna play. Like you'll be fine if you pick him up. And then they announced that he was out, and so I was like, oh crap, okay, got to go pick up another running back. And you know what? It was like, sure, you can do that. It won't go through till next week, though. And I was like, ah. So
what league are you in? Like, which league is this one? Is this our?
This isn't our league. This is another league.
Because I was gonna say I was able to, because like in our league, because in our league somebody dropped Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah, he's injured, but
yeah, but still, like he's not gonna be out that long.
Anyway, Kenneth Gainwell, he's injured, he's out. So I was like, I'm gonna pick up a running back, and I couldn't. And the only running back I had on my bench was Ty Chandler. So the man who keeps on giving. I love that man. I want him to come on the show. He's gonna hopefully pull off another miracle for us tonight. He has 2,000 views on our YouTube channel now, so I'm hoping that he gets 2,000 yards tonight. That'd be awesome.
Okay, well maybe not 2,000, but I'll take
now.
I'll take 2 touchdowns. How about that?
Two touchdowns would also be acceptable.
Yeah, for 2K views, we'll take 2 touchdowns. I think that would be pretty reasonable. Now, just let Madison like get like 130 yards, but let Ty Chandler get those touchdowns.
Yeah.
Because I do have Madison. I'm just gonna call him Madison because I think sometimes people are like Matisse or something.
I'm pretty sure it's Madison.
Yeah, either way. Madison. Yeah, Madison. I have him on my fantasy team. I would still like for him to get like 12 points. So like, as long as he can get 12 points and like Ty can get like 2 touchdowns, boom, it's a win.
Tyler Chandler season on No Buts About It.
We love it. Love to see it.
So that's what I'm going into Thursday Night Football hoping for. What are you looking for? What are you excited to see tonight?
You know, I mean, I feel like in a sense, this is like a rivalry game in a way. I don't know. I feel like these two teams, like when they go at it, they just, I don't know. I feel like Philadelphia always just like tears apart Minnesota a lot of times over the last couple of showings. I mean, at least last year, I think it was, they kind of ripped them apart. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if Minnesota can actually like bounce back this year. You know, Minnesota has, Jordan Addison now, and like they might have some, more wide receivers to work with, some different players and stuff, different scheme almost to like work with. So it might be interesting just because obviously you have Jefferson and Addison, and then you have Madison and Chandler and Kirk still running with it. So it'll be really cool to see if the offense can really, perform well against this Philadelphia Eagles team, who, although was playing in New England, did struggle in New England. I mean, after all, they only finished the game with, it was like 25-20, and Jake Elliott had 4 field goals. So it's not like this offense was like electric on Sunday. So it does make you a little you do wonder a little bit about Philly. I believe Philly is home this week though, so maybe it'll give them a little bit of ramp of energy tonight on Thursday Night Football against Minnesota. But also, like I said, maybe Minnesota goes out and surprises. So I'm kind of hoping for a Minnesota surprise. But like obviously, like in my head, the favorites should be the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm kind of high on the Minnesota Vikings tonight. I think there's going to be another Thursday night away team surprise like we had last week with the Lions. So I'm going to root for the Vikings. Although I don't mind the Eagles. In the video yesterday, which you can check out, I talked about Fantasy Wire pickups. I am wearing an Eagles headband in that, but it's a little out of context on why I have that Eagles headband. But nonetheless, I don't mind the Eagles. So, but I kind of want to see if Minnesota can win because I do like Jordan Addison a lot. I mean, after all, he is a ACC champion. So,
Chus made that video week 2. Who should be on your team? Who shouldn't be on your team? That is up on the YouTube channel. I uploaded that last night. I believe that he's also going to release a video later here today about a specific player that a lot of people are talking about. Is that correct?
It'll either be out today or tomorrow
Okay.
morning, afternoon. So it'll be out. It'll be
Okay.
out. It'll be out sometime in the next 24 hours, I would say. Just because my day might have just did a 180 according to these texts. So I may not
Okay.
have a ton of time this afternoon now, but if I have some time this evening, I'll get it done and edited. But if I can't get it edited, I'll edit it tomorrow. So because I'm not in class tomorrow. So
Definitely understand that. My schedule is wonky too. But anyway, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss that. But back to Thursday night football. Something I just thought about is, yeah, the Eagles have had a great defense in the past, but the Minnesota Vikings have added another weapon in Jordan Addison, who had a great game last week. So if you are the Philadelphia Eagles, Darius Slay, I'd imagine, is going to be covering Justin Jefferson almost the entire game. Who do you put on Jordan Addison? Because Jordan Addison was showing signs of maybe not being as good as Justin Jefferson, but definitely showing shades of it last week. And it
yeah,
was very exciting to watch. And even in the preseason, we saw Jordan Addison making sideline catches, making insane catches. So he's going to be a hard guy to cover. Could that be the make or break between Eagles and the Vikings, just not being able to cover Jordan Addison adequately?
I mean, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, I think this is a different Minnesota offense this year. I mean, obviously, 1 year does make a difference for every NFL team. I mean, a lot of times, like, teams don't adjust too much. Like, obviously, like, you'll have years where a team will only lose like one like mid-range player, and then they'll gain some sort of like rookie or something to replace him, or vice versa. But I feel like with Minnesota, I feel like one of their main weapons when you think about Minnesota was, oh, you have Kirk Cousins and you got Justin Jefferson. And then that was kind of like the end of it. Like, I mean, you would talk about Dalvin Cook, obviously, but now Dalvin Cook's not there. But now with this Minnesota offense, not only do you have Justin Jefferson, but you have Jordan Addison too, who I think only had like 6 receptions out of the 8 targets, but he's still being targeted nonetheless. So they are going to utilize him. And obviously he did have a really good showing. And then you have Madison, who is no like Dalvin Cook above average, insane running back that we've seen in Minnesota, but he's going to get you numbers on the boards. He's gonna push through. He's gonna get those fantasy numbers, and not only that, but this offense just seems very balanced compared to years past. Where I notice like some teams will, and it doesn't always work out for these teams, which we've seen. When you have just like when you have one stud wide receiver and one pretty good quarterback, it takes away from a lot of your offense because you have to rely a lot on wide receiver 2 and 3. That's what the Steelers started struggling with back in like 2014. Is like we had other wide receivers, but like we were struggling with like Martavis Bryant, being suspended. We were suffering with wide receiver injuries and whatnot. So the only main wide receiver we had was Antonio Brown. And guess who was getting double covered halfway through the season? Antonio Brown. And Ben Roethlisberger at that point was still a really good quarterback, but he was no like, Patrick Mahomes type thing where he could make like, most wide receivers look good except on week 1. But like it's one of those things where now this is a very balanced offense. You have a very good Jordan Addison wide receiver and you have a very good Justin Jefferson wide receiver. I mean, after all, Justin Jefferson was drafted first overall in most leagues. So all I'm saying is I think it's going to be a fun game. But I do think Minnesota might pull this one out. I think Minnesota's a little bit more legit than we're giving them credit for. So
Sounds like we're giving them a lot of credit. I mean,
I mean,
uh,
I'm not saying. I mean, I think Philly's still a great team. I just don't
oh,
think Philly is like on the same level as they were last year. I think they're still going to finish with a winning record. I just think they're going to be more of like a 11-6 type team, or a 10-7 is probably their floor this year. So
I forgot that they also have Hawk, TJ Hawkinson.
that is also another weapon that
So
they
the
have been utilizing.
Vikings
The Vikings
can.
offense is legit. I mean, it's Hawkinson, I think he got traded like halfway through the season last year, like early,
Mm-hmm.
mid halfway through. And now, now he's got not only that half year, but this is his first season starting. So might want to watch out for Hawkinson too, because he might actually be a huge part of that offense too. So I don't know. I feel like Minnesota has a lot of offensive weapons that they can utilize. Now, the other question is will the defense be able to stop Jalen Hurts in their offense? I mean, on Philadelphia's side, you still have Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown that you're dealing with, plus all of the thousands of running backs that Philadelphia loves to have. So, you're still dealing with, really solid offenses. I think it'll come down to a defense game in some aspects, but I still think it's going to be an offensive blowout. I hope. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for an offensive blowout. Like, let's go. Like 45-42.
This Eagles secondary is beat up.
Yeah.
James Bradbury's already been declared out. Reed Blankenship, the free safety, is out. They've got the only player. Let me make sure I'm reading this right. Well, based on what it's saying here, that I could see successfully covering Justin Jefferson correctly is Darius Slay. And so I think you have to leave him on Justin Jefferson. I don't think you... Yeah, that's the only option I think you have. So
yeah,
I think Jordan Addison might have a big night tonight.
Fantasy football. Leave him in. Now, I was having a little bit of an issue because I needed to put in a different wide receiver, but the problem was I had Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison, and that's really tough to pick just one or the other because, you have both, and I think both can do good, but like, would I bench Mike Evans? Probably not, and I haven't seen what Christian Watson can do yet. So, because he was out week 1, and I kind of want to see what he can do for fantasy football. But, if Watson poops himself, I'm definitely putting in Addison for week 3. But I'm really curious to see how Jordan Addison does tonight, too, because obviously he had that big game week 1 for a rookie. Maybe he'll replicate those numbers. But do you ever get concerned that maybe it'll take away from Justin Jefferson's like fantasy numbers or just numbers in general? Just like out of your opinion?
I think Justin Jefferson will still have a good night tonight because he's Justin Jefferson. That being said, the Eagles are going to do everything that they can to shut down Justin Jefferson. So I wouldn't expect him to have a huge, he's not going to have a boom night, but I also don't think he's going to bust. I think he's going to be right in the middle.
15.
Darius Slay is a very talented player. I'd imagine they're going to have a safety over the top as well to avoid those yards after the catch. Probably, I doubt it'll be Sidney Brown, the backup free safety. Maybe Justin Evans. If they put him, Justin Evans is the strong safety, but I don't know how athletic either of these guys are. But I'd imagine you would have a safety over the top of Justin Jefferson at all times to prevent any yards after catch. They're going to need a lot of zone probably to help prevent any yardage after catch because Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson are both very good at that. I doubt you just stay in man and hope it works out because that
probably won't.
It's not going to work out well for you. Same thing like Vikings defense, though, needs to make sure that they are covering guys like Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, even Quez Watkins can be a threat, the wide receiver 3. Dallas Goedert, who had no catches last week, I'm sure said something in the locker room and was like, hey, feed me.
Yeah, exactly.
Then the passing game is going to be a big thing tonight because Kenneth Gainwell's out. DeAndre Swift didn't really play last week. He got snaps in, but it seemed like every time DeAndre Swift was on the field, it was for pass play. And I kind of started using him as an indicator of what the play was going to be because if I saw him come on, it was, I don't know the exact numbers, but probably 70% of the time it was a pass play.
Which does make their offense predictable. If the average person can just assume, oh, DeAndre Swift's out there, it's probably going to be a pass play. That's not good. That is also not good. Coordinator, you need to fix it up. Throw in Boston Scott or something next time.
Yeah, now Kenneth Gainwell, though, is injured. So DeAndre Swift is the next backup, then Boston Scott, then Rashad Penny. So
Do love Boston Scott.
how does that did they only want DeAndre Swift for his pass protection abilities, or do they trust him to be a actual running back? I think we'll find that out tonight too. Because if the only time we see DeAndre Swift, who used to be at the Lions, this is his first year with the Eagles, if the only time we see DeAndre Swift again is for pass protection, then that tells us all we need to know about having him in fantasy, but also like if you see him on the field, it's a pass play.
Yeah.
So that's all I've got about that. Who do you think is going to win tonight, and what do you think the score is going to be?
Well, I mean, realistic or unrealistic?
Realistic.
All right. Well, I'm still gonna go with the Vikings. I think the Vikings are gonna win this week. We're gonna go 31-28.
31-28. Okay.
Yeah.
I
was gonna say my unrealistic score was 45-42 overtime win for the Minnesota Vikings. But
I'm going to say the Vikings as well, because I think that they will be able to use those secondary injuries to their advantage. I think that because of the Eagles' defense being injured, and I'm not sure about the Vikings' defense yet, I think it'll be an offensive game. Let's think of some numbers. I feel like the numbers are somewhat random, although Ben Kurt got the Lions Chiefs score exactly right. So now I feel like it's possible. I'm going to go 37 to 30.
37-30 final.
37-30 for the Vikings. Because I think both of these offenses will have a good game. But I think that the Vikings are just going to have a one possession that's better. And so we'll find out. Although last week kickers were missing like crazy, so maybe 36 would have been better, and they missed the PAT on the last touchdown or something.
Maybe somewhere around there, apparently.
Final thing is, you're a Steelers fan, obviously, and Deontay Junkyard Johnson. What's going on with him? Like, should you be worried?
I mean, he is suffering from an injury. And as of right now, I don't think he is expected to play this week, as far as I know. I think he's like week to week, day to day type injury. I think it could be a hamstring, but it's not something where it's like to the point where it's like he's definitively out for like multiple weeks. So for me, am I concerned? Yeah, I actually am very concerned about all these injuries. We have Freiermuth injured, who is questionable. We have Deontay Johnson, who's injured and questionable, and we have Cam Hayward that is confirmed going to be having surgery and out for half the year. So I am a little concerned, but I'm hopeful that like some of these other wide receivers will like step up a little bit, because now your depth chart's going to move up a little bit, and now you're going to have Pickens, Allen Robinson as wide receiver 2, and then your wide receiver 3 is probably going to be Calvin Austin III. And then for the tight end, I'm kind of hoping Darnell Washington goes in for tight end, but they're probably going to utilize Connor Hayward a little bit more on that offense too. And Connor Hayward is a really good player, I think. Connor Hayward is Cam Hayward's younger brother, for anybody that was curious. And I think Connor Hayward will be, doing really well for the Steelers on Monday night. But I would love to see Darnell Washington play because I'm pretty high on that guy. He's like a 6'8", like lanky, ripped guy that loves drawing penalties. Like because like cornerbacks might be 6'1", 6'2", and they'll try to block him, and they literally can't. So he'll just get constant like pass interferences. So and it'll always help us out. So and from what TJ Watt said, apparently TJ Watt said that he was one of the hardest people to get around in training camp because he's just so tall and like ripped and lanky. So I'd love to see him play, get some catches, get some reps out there. Defensively, I'm a little concerned just without Cam Hayward because, he is, a very strong talent out on the team. He's a veteran on that team. but I'm hoping that some of those other guys step up, because last week we did not see anybody step up on the team, including I think the best player to watch last week was TJ Watt. But yeah, so we're just going to have to hope for the best. But if you're asking me genuinely, yes, I am absolutely 100% concerned, because it's more than just Deontay Johnson being hurt. If it was just Johnson, I'd probably be like, no, I'm not concerned, but we're risking like 3 injuries going into this week. So
Did you see Trent Williams' comment about the Steelers?
no, what he say?
He plays for the 49ers, and he's an offensive lineman, very talented player.
Yeah.
He said that they had started rooting for the Steelers because they wanted you guys to get a first down so that they could catch a break on offense.
Oh,
The
nice.
49ers offense was so tired that they were rooting for the Steelers offense to get a first down.
I didn't see that.
And you guys didn't do that, and he was sad because he was tired.
Well, unfortunately, I cannot control that. But I'm sorry for your unfortunate circumstances, Mr. Williams. I hope for better days for you going into week 2 and up till week 18 when you inevitably go to the Super Bowl, because you guys definitely look like the best out of a lot of teams this week. It's probably going to be 49ers and Cowboys in the NFC Championship. Is that your
49ers and Bengals. We have.
I said NFC Championship, not Super Bowl.
Oh, in the NFC Championship. Okay.
Well, yeah, you pulled that on me last week too.
Yeah,
You're like,
I know.
yeah, because I was like, yeah, and then Bengals, and I forget what I said, but you're like, well, they can't play in the Super Bowl. They're both AFC teams. Oh, it was the Chiefs and Steelers.
You sent me a photo that said Bengals Chiefs Super Bowl, and someone from ESPN made the selection first, though.
No, it was Steelers Chiefs.
Chiefs.
It was Steelers Chiefs AFC Championship, and I accidentally said Super Bowl in the cast, and you were like, well, they can't play in the Super Bowl. So I just pulled that on you.
Yeah,
Tables turn and bridges burn.
Oh,
you live and learn, Josh.
Oh, how the turntables.
So, but those are my 2 NFC favorites. If you had to have me pick an AFC favorite, I couldn't tell you yet. Give me a couple weeks. But NFC favorites right now, Dallas and San Fran.
AFC is Bengals and Chiefs.
Well, Bengals put up 3 points, so
hey,
talk to me in a couple of weeks. That's what I mean. Because all of the favorites in the AFC have pretty much lost. I mean, you had the Chiefs lose, you had the Bills lose, and you had the Bengals lose. Like, those are top 3 favorites, like, every single year in the AFC over the last couple of years. So, and they've all lost. And then you go to Jacksonville, who has won. So what? Who's your favorites then? Jacksonville and, like, Miami?
Yeah, but that's if you go off of records. I mean,
no, but like based on what I saw with the NFC, like I think it could be Dallas and San Fran. But then again, I think it's going to be San Francisco that goes to the Super Bowl, because I don't think Dallas is as good. I feel like they choke. But that's
led by this man right here, Mr. McCaffrey.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, who the Steelers could not stop.
Nope. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you for listening to today's show, and make sure to go check out those videos on YouTube. Chus made one for fantasy football. He's got another one on its way. I've listened to the first one so far. I obviously have not listened to the one that has not been made yet. Stan the Jet Fan and I also sat down to discuss fantasy football in the first ever episode of Water Cooler Analysis. But if you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube at No Buts Show. Social media pages are NoButs_show on Instagram and No Buts Show on TikTok. My Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001. And if you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2, that's the number 2, at gmail.com. Throwing up gang signs here. Finally, our spread shop will be in the description, so check out the merch. Once again, if you enjoyed today's show, please like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, go do something nice for someone.